using AI to assist with grading or feedback, it can be ethical if the importance is the decision. I mean, the teacher remains the decision maker, right? But it's problematic if you are making AI be the being the judgment of the work. I've used AI with, I wouldn't call it grading because I'm not in the classroom right now, but to evaluate certain things, you have to assess the information yourself. You can use AI to, like, maybe the AI will say, hey, what about this? Like, you're right. I didn't catch that. So you can use it in that way, but you are the decision maker as the teacher. And I think that as I said before, transparency matters. I think that districts should encourage or require the teachers to disclose what AI tools they're using. Again, that is you're mirroring. That's teaching ethics with AI to your students.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. I'm Avinash Bansal, co-founder of TomoClub. And today on our podcast series, we have Shelby Stockton. She's the Director of Education Technology at Evolution Alliance. And today's topic of discussion is AI in schools, what's ethical, what's not, and what to do about it. I think ethics isn't just a tech problem, it's a leadership problem that most schools leader right now aren't prepared for. And I'm pretty excited to have Shelby on this discussion today. Welcome to the show, Shelby.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, while we were preparing for this podcast, I came across this word that stuck with me, the accidental techie in Silicon Valley. So I love your story, right? From classroom teaching to finally joining a company who's working on education technologies across multiple schools. So tell me, what was a specific moment you realized that tech has a huge role to play in education?
Well, I came from a very tech-heavy school. When I first started early in my career, it was just two computers in the back. Everything was done by hand, just old school, kind of the way I went to school. But shortly after I got there, all of a sudden we had desktops on the perimeter of the classroom. Each, student had their own desktop when they were in my classroom. And then shortly after that, every child had a laptop. And then shortly after that, we got into like Google Classroom, and students were collaborating together, through, whatever, software technology we had at the time. And I just realized, that technology wasn't just a gadget in the room. It became like it was fundamentally changing how students were learning and how teachers were teaching, because then all of a sudden I was teaching, via Google Classroom. There were like so many educational games that we could do with the kids. And when you realize technology is really ingrained in education is when the power goes out at your school and you're like, oh no,
Oh my God.
I don't know what I'm going to do today. So yeah, when all of a sudden like the power went out in my school and I was like, oh gosh, I have to think of how to do this analog wise. That's when you realize, oh, tech is really ingrained in education.
No, I absolutely. I think that's incredible that you have seen so many evolution of technology. Not calling you old at all.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just mature. I've been around.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's incredible. But I will address the elephant in the room, right? There is reports coming in from uh, especially Scandinavian countries, how, and also there's a lot of reports that how tech and the reading scores and the math scores are inversely proportional. How these technologies have started to show up that reduce in memory, skill retention, concept retention among kids. And of course, we cannot just blame it on technology. There's a multiple other aspects, changing parenting style or the uncertain times. And now we have AI. So what's your take? Because I have my own understanding, which I'll share, but I want to know does it bring sometimes existential questioning about the entire technology space in education?
Well, of course, and the way I look at it, I've seen a lot of change in the classroom with technology, and every time something comes up, teachers, specifically teachers, have a tendency to kind of freak out. I mean, I did too. I was like, this changes everything. Kids aren't going to be able to da 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 da. And there's something about being really needing to like they need to do it the way I did it. Because if they don't do it the way I did it, then how do we know that what they're doing? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I've learned this, life changes.
Hmm.
Everything changes, and we freaked out when iPads came out. We thought, oh, this iPad's going to do this. And the truth was, is like it ended up not being that big a deal. Like, some kids even don't even use iPads anymore in the classroom. I think we need to be patient. Think we need to see what's really going on until we assess. And yes, it's true. Not just kids, adults' attention spans are getting shorter too because of technology. I'm to blame as well. I mean, I have what I call like TikTok brain. Like if it's not 30 seconds or less, and 30 seconds is pushing it, I have a tendency to kind of like look off to the side. Um, I don't know how to solve that right now. I think we're still in the teenage conception of what's going on right now with that kind of technology, and we kind of need to see where it goes. But, people thought TV was going to kill us all. So,
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And in my personal opinion, there are multiple facets of a technology. Like I have seen insane success stories of how kids who didn't have access to classroom instruction or didn't have means to go to a school, and they're learning through YouTube, and they're able to
right,
elevate themselves from poverty. So there are both sides of the equation, right? There is definitely,
right.
in terms of access, I cannot deny the impact technology has. And overdo of anything leads to overkill. There is no denial. And
Right.
there is this fatigue of screen. And I think blaming it on only the tech products in the schools and not taking it into account the entire 24 hours at home and or otherwise is also not looking at it from multifaceted angle. So absolutely, I think we do take into consideration a lot of whether screen is essential when we deliver something,
Mm-hmm.
work with schools, but the benefits cannot be denied at all. And
Right.
so, yeah, I think, for example, in my opinion, every research that comes out, I always check who is the funder behind it, right? Like, for
Mm.
example, when Chromebooks were pushed or when iPads were pushed, of course, it's a lot of corporate lobbying that goes behind it. And similarly, when
Mm-hmm.
it's been bashed, then again, I do feel there's a lot of corporate, lobbying behind.
Mm-hmm.
I literally take everything with a pinch of salt. Not the
Sure.
not the controversial stories kind of guy, but I have seen impact firsthand, massive impact. So yeah, and now with AI, it's a whole different ball game because I have to agree whenever people dismiss AI as just another technology or comparing it with calculator or Google, uh, it's so I would say narrow point of view because AI is able right now it's doing predictive analysis. Right now it's not coming up with completely new literature in industry.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not far as well. So
Right.
and again the overusage will lead to overkill. So
Right.
what do you think about the ethical concerns about AI in schools?
Oh gosh, that's such a broad question. I mean, if I were not in educational technology right now and I was still a classroom teacher, I think I would be very, very worried. And I understand why they are because they're not really teaching like they need one more thing to teach. First of all, I mean, being a teacher is really, really difficult, and you are constantly being given more and more and more to do with no raise and no extra time off. So I understand that this is just one more thing that teachers have to deal with, but it's so important to teach the students how to use AI ethically because they're going to use it anyway. All right. And a lot of schools like banning it and saying no AI. And unfortunately, that's just not how it works. I mean, there's lots of different ways to teach students ethical AI. I mean, one is modeling, just modeling them, showing them this is one way you can do it. For example, coming up with ideas for, like if I were an English, let's say I was teaching a creative writing class,
Mm.
I might be like, oh, you're in a like a brain rot. You don't know what to write about. Let's play. Let's just play with AI. Let's just ask AI to ask you questions about what you might be interested in writing about. That's fine. Having AI write the story, that's the problem. So I think teaching students the correct way to use AI by modeling it is very, very important. Transparency. If
Yeah.
you're using AI, make sure that you are being like, hey, everybody, I
Mm.
came up with this idea through AI. Okay. I built on it after I got the idea, but the initial like ping of like the nugget of, the seed of what started it was through AI. And I use AI. I have a podcast and sometimes I need help with ideas. And I'll be like, hey, this week we're covering this. Can you give me some ideas of like people I could cover for it? And I'll get a list of people, but I do all the research. It
Right.
gives me the list, but then I go in and I do the research. So that's, a great way to teach AI ethically.
Yeah. No, actually, I was doing a podcast with a high school kid recently,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we don't sometimes take student opinions in the decision making, and it
Mm-hmm.
was mind-boggling of the way he was explaining AI. And I think that's one of the podcasts that was loved by school leaders when I shared it to them, because
Mm-hmm.
they could finally understand the student perspective. And
Right.
it wasn't that he was not able to communicate that he understand the problem with AI, or he understands that if he outsources
Mm-hmm.
his work blatantly and ignorably to AI, he will be quickly replaced. And it was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It was so like he wasn't living under a rock. So, and the advantages that he was telling me with AI, like he always has this aversion to coding, and he literally used to shy away from it. But then AI could give him a head start, get him over the initial, uh, activation, give him the activation energy to get over the blocker, and then he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Now I'm loving it." And this isn't something
Right.
I always think that AI can be a great tool to, you know, pass on that blocker, get into a flow state earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have to have your own flavor, like you said. It's your research, it's your presentation, it's your flow. It is Shelby's work, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be an assistant, but it cannot be the.
Sure.
And I think in terms of existential crisis, it's everywhere. Like I was talking to one of my nephews, and he was asking me that you became an electronic engineer, and tell me like is how why is it relevant to do electronic engineering now? And I was like, I honestly don't know, because in the terms of like whether I was doing circuit design, whether I was doing firmware writing, of course I can use AI much better in terms of how to optimize the circuit diagrams, how to optimize the usage of um, material. So of course, will it do independent and novel literature to our field? That is something that I'm really scared of, and I'm being very
Mm-hmm.
realistic about it. But I think in terms of ethical concerns, talk to the students. I think you're right. Communicating is important.
Communication is the most important thing. And here's another thing is there is such a thing as AI fatigue. And, like when you first get into it, there's something very exciting about it. It's so fun. It's new. It's different. It gives you ideas and all these things. And there's a point where you're like, I feel like I've hit the end of the AI wall and I'm done with it here. Like it can't give me anymore. And here's the thing. Students in certain schools are going to get AI training,
Yeah.
and some like underserved students are not going to get AI training, and they're going to be told it's bad, 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 and they're going to be behind. And that's a huge disservice, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. The equity gap will be unfathomable, literally,
Right.
between the AI have
Right.
and AI have nots. But you brought up very interesting point about communicating with the students. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it is confusing right now, for
Mm-hmm.
students of what is allowed and what's not allowed. So, if
Right.
you are addressing a teacher right now, how will you help them set those classroom guidelines? How should they go about it in terms of defining what's allowed and what's not allowed?
Well, you need to have a conversation within your community, and that's very, very important. You need to get people involved. I think like forming committees, which is like every teacher hates that word, like, oh, we have to form a committee. But forming committees within your school and your community that, teachers, administrators, IT people, and really sitting down and talking about the issues with AI. Like, for example, AI can unintentionally reinforce bias, because they're trained by humans. So that's important to have that discussion. Student privacy and data security. Okay, that's an issue with AI. It's important to sit down and talk about like how can we make sure that students' information is kept private. Um, and of course, and we've been talking about this, it's the over reliance on AI and learning. You need to talk about how do we teach AI in a way that they don't become like just feeling that they need it and they can't rely on themselves anymore. And I think making sure that, and honestly, bringing in consultants who
Mm,
are very familiar with AI in education
yeah.
and helping to guide and lead these communities on, because a lot of people are just lost and all they hear is AI is bad, and so they're like, well, then no AI. But
Mm.
then what?
No, I agree with you. And also, the field is so evolving quickly that it's hard to keep up. So I think having a consultant whose job is to keep themselves updated
Hmm.
can come handy, because, and the cost is completely justifiable in my opinion, because
Right.
I sometimes, like, I recently was putting a LinkedIn post and I said an AI professional development can be the mother of all PD, because
Hmm.
once you do that, all other professional development that you do entire year, whether it's on assessments, lesson planning, or school security, or mental well-being, or
Hmm.
just basic Excel sheets and everything else, you'll see that there's a different people if they have basic AI understanding or intermediate understanding. So yeah, AI PD
Hmm.
can definitely be a mother of all AI, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
Also, so as you know, many teachers are also using AI right now to grade
Yeah.
papers or write feedback. So, and sometimes I was talking to some teachers, they're also confused, whether it's ethical or whether it is, how do they draw a line? And
Hmm.
should districts require teachers to disclose when AI has been involved in evaluating work, or how should they do about it? What's your take on that?
Okay, so using AI to assist with grading or feedback, it can be ethical if the importance is the decision. I mean, the teacher remains the decision maker, right? But it's problematic if you are making AI be the being the judgment of the work. I've used AI with, I wouldn't call it grading because I'm not in the classroom right now, but to evaluate certain things. And you have to read the work yourself. I'm a words person. I was an English teacher. You have to assess the information yourself. You can use AI to, like, maybe the AI will say, "Hey, what about this?" Like, you're right. I didn't catch that. So you can use it in that way, but you are the decision maker as the teacher. Um, and I think that as I said before, transparency matters. I think that districts should encourage or require the teachers to disclose what AI tools they're using. Again, that is you're mirroring. That's teaching ethics with AI to your students. You can say, "Hey, I graded your paper. I also plugged it into AI, but anything added was stuff that I agreed that the AI said." And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, yeah, agree. It's the same thing. It's the same kind of extrapolation. If students are using it, they should make sure that it's their flavor, their personality in it as the output.
Mhm.
Same with teachers using it. So yeah, I think that's pretty applicable across the board. Also,
Sure.
but also, like, this is something which I also have personally felt, that AI tools um, will consistently be better for English related content. But when
Hmm.
it's about the other languages, like, so they are definitely trying to catch up, whether it's Hindi, Spanish, Arabic,
Hmm.
um, and of course, different cultural writing styles. So How should, again, um, should there be some filters? Should there be some guardrails of school leaders going about it, or when they're exposing their teachers or their kids with tools like Gemini or ChatGPT? What do you think should be? uh, Because right now, I would want that people who are listening to this podcast should have at least some applicable strategies. So, what do you think they
Mhm.
should do about it?
Okay, so are you specifically asking about non-English speakers? Oh, okay. So that's true. Well, they should start by making sure that they're treating AI scoring as advisory and not authoritative, right? And because you are the leader in your classroom, you know your students. AI doesn't know your students. Um, so you want to make sure that you audit the tools that you're purchasing. Um, Asking vendors how their models were trained, what bias testing has been done, and whether results vary for multilingual learners or different writing styles. It's important to do your research. You want to make sure that you test it. You know, you test all the software that you're using, um, and districts should pilot and monitor AI systems with diverse student samples before adopting them widely. They want to make sure that, you know, they need to be able to identify bias early and avoid disadvantaging their certain groups of students. So again, it's test, test, test. This is new stuff. So we have to assess.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Another important part right now, most schools are right now in the process of writing their AI policies. And
Mhm.
personally, I have read at least, I can say for myself, I've read around 8 or 9 different AI policies for the state and for the districts. And I do feel there's a lot of copy paste with other districts.
Sure.
Um, and it's written by someone who has never used AI in a classroom.
Right,
You can very
right,
well see that. So, what does a good AI policy actually look like? Or let me make
right.
it. What do you think the three indispensable things should be there in the AI policy if somebody's creating right now?
Well, I think first it should clearly define acceptable and unacceptable student and teacher uses of AI,
Mhm.
including expectations for transparency. I also think that it must include student data privacy protections
Mhm.
and vendor vetting requirements, ensuring that AI tools comply with laws. Um, like that's very important with making sure that like data, student data isn't misused. And I also, lastly, I would say it should require human oversight for grading and evaluation and major decisions. You know, making clear that AI can assist educators, but it should never replace professional judgment. That's very important.
No, I think those are very three solid points. Thank you for sharing that. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
who's listening will definitely, because right now it's a budgeting season and everyone is planning their money to be in the right places. So yeah, those are three solid points. Um,
Yeah.
Now I want to like think about from a broader perspective. So let's forget what's happening right now, but let's say in 5 years from now, you know, which schools are gonna good look back and say that they got the AI ethics right, and
Hmm.
what will they have would have done differently from everyone else starting today?
I think the schools that get AI ethics right will be the ones that treat AI as a literary issue and not just a technology issue, and teach students to use it responsibly rather than pretending it doesn't exist, which is kind of what's going on right now. It's either pretend it doesn't exist or just like make it like the bad, evil, like scary thing in the corner. Um, they will have invested early in teacher training
Mhm.
and clear, district-wide guidelines if that applies, and insist on leaving instead of leaving individual teachers to figure it out on their own, which is kind of what's going on in a lot of schools that I'm seeing when I go in. It's like some teachers are like, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole, when others are like, it's the best. I'm using it for A, B, and C, and it's all over the place, and it's confusing for the students. And most importantly, they will have kept humans at the center of decision making, which I cannot stress enough. Using AI to support teaching and learning is important while protecting student thinking and privacy and fairness. And instead of pretending it doesn't exist or it's just like this mean, evil creature lurking behind us, face it, get to know it. Fear is because you don't understand it. So get to know it.
Now, those are very well put. I also have like few things that we do right now in house to keep us relevant. So one thing is we
Mm-hmm.
actually had one channel. So we use Slack as an internal communication platform.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure every school also has some kind of platform where every teacher is there and they can, have a talk conversation. So we made a channel specifically. If you come across any cool AI thing, do share. And though I would say not everyone is pretty active on those kind of channels and they keep on just piling up. Um,
Right.
so we have started doing like a 15-day 1 hour block in which we basically again share what new you learned. So in my opinion, only any school who will look back after 5 years and see if they got it right will be the one
Mm-hmm.
who will be agile. I think agility is the core value principle that you have to inculcate today to be relevant, because like it or not, right now the entire future relevance of school is under question. Don't take me wrong, school as an establishment is going to be relevant always. I have a 2-year-old son and I can't wait to send him to a school because I want something
Right.
for myself too.
That's
So
true.
there's no denial that school as an establishment will be relevant, but the definition of school is under a transformation. Whether it is the number of grades, the role of a teacher, parent communication methodologies, um, instructional methodologies, how do you conduct exams, how do you conduct grading, everything is up for disruption. So I think only those schools who will keep on re-evaluating their policy and don't get stuck with one are gonna say we got it right because
Right.
literally nobody has a real answer.
Right. You have to be able to like switch lanes. Like, you may think like this is it. And then you find out, oops, we made a mistake. That's not working. We got to switch it up. Agility, as you said, it's very important.
Yeah. No, for example, I would say like bias and hallucination was like it was a very easy mockery for AI. Like
Mm,
6 months from now, when initially it started, and if you realize that conversation is gone, nobody talks about it
hmm
that much. So on a larger extent, they have solved it. Of course, there are still some sections, especially with when you give large data, then it tends to hallucinate, or when you
Sure.
uh, there are loopholes when you can ask AI to do something which it should not. So there are a lot of loopholes, but on a very layman usage, things have been solved by the companies, and they are solving it very quickly. So
Right.
and you can like I usually do a grok analysis because grok does really give me what's the chatter in the real time,
Sure.
um, which none of the AI tools do. So I used to go to grok as often as I used to go to Reddit, because Reddit again was very authentic conversations happening.
hmm
So if you want to have a sense of where the trend is going, you have to be on these two platforms. Similarly, I use Claude for a lot more, I would say, creative work lately, um,
hmm
especially with data handling. I love that. It tends to make much, much less mistakes, while ChatGPT is my thought partner. So the point is that the tools, my allegiance with tools is so evolving quickly,
Yes.
and it's weird. Like I don't know what happens, but I was using Gemini for the longest time, and I haven't been gone to it for a while. And
Right.
so this is such a dynamic field, um, and that's why I actually tell to schools, don't buy AI tools right now.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It does. I remember when ChatGPT came out, and I was on it all the time. I was just playing and having a blast. I'm like, this is the best. And now I'm like, wait, you can only use that for one thing. Like for me, it's just like brainstorming. Like that, there's so much more for like I'm a big fan of like Notebook LM, especially in the classroom. Like there's just so many cool things out there, and ChatGPT is just one tiny little thing. And so if you are a school that's interested in like finding out like how you can use different AI tools, you may not even know what are out there. I highly recommend educating yourself, getting a consultant, and because there's so many amazing things. And for teachers, like the teachers that aren't, are pushing it away, I just want to be like, it gives you back so much more of your time, A, and B, it makes teaching fun again, because how many times have you done the same curriculum or some very similar curriculum for years? You can really get in there and do some creative work on AI that'll make it new and exciting for you, which is important.
No, absolutely. So yeah, I think on the AI ethics side, we did cover a lot of bases, and we'll continue the chat. But as of now, I think it's a good starting point for a lot of people who are navigating this. And you cannot, and like 2026, like new academic year is about to begin. So that's my advice and warning in a way to the schools. Get on it and don't shy away.
Yeah.
But yeah, any closing remarks, Shelby, that you want to share?
I just want to, remember we only fear the things we don't know. So
Mhm.
get in there and play and have a little bit of fun. And I understand the fear, and I understand that people are worried about what it's going to do to young brains. That's why I think that we should learn more about it so we can teach young brains how to use it correctly.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. It was fun
Thank
talking,
you.
and I can't wait for this to be out.
I appreciate it. Thank you.